morning, everybody. I'm Andrea Fiederer, and I'm goeasy's Chief Marketing Officer, and I'm so excited to be here today at Environic's 14th Annual User Conference. Today, I am really excited to be talking to you all about something that is very, very relevant in today's world, and that's change. As marketers, we've been exposed to change for many, many years, specifically around the way in which data and analytics has changed the way that we market and sell to our customers. But throughout the past 9 months in the pandemic, that change has just been expedited, and consumer behavior has changed in many, many different ways, some of which will continue to endure long after the pandemic, and others that might go back to the way that we were doing things before. But regardless of how things end up, there is no question that change is of the utmost importance right now. And knowing how we handle that change and how we manage that as marketers is going to be absolutely key in the success of our businesses. So today, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about who goeasy is. For some context, goeasy is one of Canada's leading non-bank lenders, and we focus on the non-prime consumer. I'll tell you a little bit more about that and our journey in a little bit. We'll also be talking about easyfinancial, which is our lending brand and really been the growth of our organization. I'll talk about the transition and growth that we've seen over the years, and we'll get into the problem that we were facing and the way in which our partnership with Environic's and the work that we've done together has helped us solve for that. We'll then spend a little bit of time on the lessons learned, and we'll talk about what's next for us on our journey. So to kick us off, let me tell you a little bit about who goeasy is. So goeasy offers lending and leasing services to non-prime Canadian consumers. There's about 9.4 non-prime Canadian consumers in Canada, and those would be customers that are unable to access bank credit. So that means that they have limited resources and places to turn when they have credit needs. And that's where we come in. And our job is not only to provide them with access to the credit that they need today, but it's to help them on their path to a better tomorrow. And that's frankly what sets us apart as a lender. It's not just about providing access to credit today, but it's about giving them the services and the support that they need to actually rebuild their credit and get back to bank rates. So goeasy operates two brands. We have our Easy Home brand, which is our leasing brand, and we've got easyfinancial, which is where we do all of our lending services. A couple of quick facts about the business. We're a national business. We've got over 400 locations, and we operate an omni-channel model. We've served about 1 million customers since our inception, and we've been around for almost 30 years. We have over 2,000 employees, and we're extremely proud of our commitment to our communities. We have two longstanding partnerships with both the Boys and Girls Clubs of Canada and Habitat for Humanity, and giving back is really fundamental to what we do as a business. So let's spend a little bit of time just drilling into the easyfinancial business. So easyfinancial was launched in 2006, and easyfinancial is goeasy's non-prime consumer lending division. We have about 250 branches across the country. We're an omni-model channel, so our customers can transact with us online or on the phone. And we cater to those 9.4 million Canadians that are non-prime and cannot access credit from banks or other traditional lenders. We offer two core lending products, one which is an unsecured product, which is loans up to $15,000, and the other which is a secured product, which is our home equity product, and that offers loans up to $45,000. We also have a whole suite of services that we offer to support our customers on their journey. That includes free financial education and credit building products that help them reestablish their credit and build their credit so that we can help them on their journey to improved credit and getting back to bank rates. So let me tell you a little bit about the growth of easyfinancial. So over the past 5 years, our business has seen exponential growth on many different levels. Our loan book, as an example, was under $200 million in 2015, and today that sits well over $1.1 billion. We had served just around 100,000 customers in 2015, and now that number is closer to over 500,000. Our branches have gone from about 154 branches 5 years ago to 260. And more importantly, one of the biggest changes that our business has seen is the product suite that we offer. So in 2015, we had one product that was offered at one rate, and we were very clear on who our target customers are. But over the past 5 years, that's evolved significantly to today, where we have multiple products that we offer at multiple rates to many different segments of consumers. In terms of how much we funded to date, in 2015, that was about 700 million. And today that's well in excess of $4.2 billion. We also have 2,000 employees, as I mentioned, and that's grown from 1,500 in 2015. So as you can see on this slide, it really highlights our growth story and a lot of the reason why we're here today. So that growth is an amazing, amazing thing to experience. And we're extremely proud of how we've been able to grow that business over the past years. But with that growth also comes complexity. And so as we've introduced new products and services, and as we've expanded the target segments that we're trying to reach, we've also really had to think about the way in which we market to those customers and how we drive an improvement on our return on investment for every single marketing dollar. So what that meant is that we really had to think about how we get more scientific and targeted in our acquisition strategies. We had to really think about how we were going to bring in the highest lifetime value customers that we had so that we can really bring in the most profitable customers to our business. And we had to think about how we would maximize every single dollar that we were spending to acquire our customers. So what was the solution to that? It was really all about moving from a one-size-fits-all approach to a targeted and segmented approach to our marketing strategies. So previously, we had just thought about marketing in terms of one message, one type of media, and just distributing that across all of our customers. But in order to get more specific and more targeted with our messages, we knew we had to move to a one-to-one approach. And that meant trying to determine who the right segments were, how we were going to communicate with them, what media we were going to use per segment, and what messages we were going to be able to support to those customers. So what I want to do now is walk you through how we did that and how we brought that to life. The first step of this journey was all about identifying the key segments that we were going to target. So we really looked at focusing on the key data and inputs that would give us the best basis for really determining those segments. That involved taking data sets from Environics, but also easyfinancial providing their own data sets to really get a sense of who those customers were. From there, we were able to identify 11 total segments, and that covered our full customer base. But we knew that there was just too much complexity in terms of trying to talk and market to 11 different segments. So that's where we really started to refine the segments. And we really looked at things like the biggest segments, the fastest growing segments, and the segments that really contained our highest lifetime value customers. And that's where we came to identify 7 priority segments that covered off about 73% of our total population. From there, the next step was to really socialize and onboard both our internal and external stakeholders. This was a new way for us to think about marketing and a new way for us to use data and analytics in our everyday marketing. So it was critical that we had buy-in, not just from our internal functional partners like operations and risk and analytics and real estate, but it was also critical that we had that from our external partners like our media agencies and our creative agencies. So we met with them and we worked with them to get buy-in into the process and what we were trying to do. We worked on educating them on how we had come to these segments. We shared the data, we shared our personas and our profiles, and we really focused on then building out an integrated plan that would allow us to execute against these segments and the targeting strategy that we had developed. So once we had that in place, our third step was all in bringing it together. And we know that what was critical here was to actually prove out these concepts and prove out the fact that we were able to execute against this new strategy. So there was really 3 things that we tried to do initially. The first one is that we really used our segments and the targeting strategy in our media buying process. So instead of just creating a media buy that blanketed all customers, what we started to do is we started to look at our segments and look at the programs that they were looking at. We started to look at their media habits and when they were viewing TV. And then we were able to take the 2 TV spots that we had that were dedicated towards 2 different messages, one focused on our unsecured personal loan product, one focused on our home equity product. And we were then able to bring those to market directly to the targets and segments that they would be best suited for based on the media analysis that we had done and based on the programming that they were watching. The next thing that we tried to do is get very tailored with our creative execution. So what we tried to do there is we tried to focus on our direct mail and our online strategies. The idea there was to make sure that we could have creative that really met the needs of each of our individual segments. So in the examples that you see here, we had one type of direct mail that we used for our unsecured product, and we had another type that we used for our home equity product. The process also allowed us to get very, very specific with how we thought about our online creative. What you see below is just an example of 3 different creative executions that were focused on different segments. We were able to take to market a new message for new Canadians. It was very unique and tailored to them. We were also able to take to market very specific home equity messages that were unique to those segments and those targets. The last thing that we did and we focused on was our branch selection. So we took all of the segmentation work that we had done and we overlaid that across all of our locations in Canada. And we were able to then pinpoint where the best places to put new branches would be. So it was an extremely effective exercise in making sure that we put our branch locations where we had the highest penetration of our segments. So that's really how we brought the strategy to life. The next step after that was really all about measurements, and this was key to the entire process. Establishing what we were going to measure was critical to making sure that we had the right KPIs in place, and then ensuring that we had the right reports to tackle that was very, very important. So we really thought about measurement from 2 lenses. One was from the overall corporate measurement standpoint, and one was from the campaign performance side. So Environics was key in providing us with those campaign measures and really helping us understand how our campaigns were performing. So how did the test perform between testing different creative variants? On the corporate side, really looking at a variety of different reports that gave us an indication of, were we reducing our cost per acquisition, which was key in establishing whether or not we had been able to actually improve our return investment. We also looked at changes in the segmentation mix. So were we able to acquire more of those higher lifetime value customers and change the mix of segments in our base? We also want to make sure that we can improve penetration in certain of our products that we are actually trying to drive forward. So although it's a little bit hard to tell from the report below, this is just an example of how we tracked over time the various segments and the performance and the mix that they represented within our whole business. And the objective here was to identify our highest lifetime value segments and then actually try to see movement in those segments within the business over time. So this was fundamental to the entire process, because without measuring the performance and seeing how we were doing, it would have just been impossible to really assess the success of this program overall. So hopefully that gives everybody a little bit of context in terms of the steps that we took to bring this to life. I thought I would spend a couple of minutes now just talking about some of the lessons that we learned throughout this process. So the first piece that I want to talk through is the complexity. So as you can see, with 7 priority segments and getting very excited about our ability to customize messaging, to tailor creative, and to look at our media planning and buying very differently, it becomes extremely, extremely complex and can be very overwhelming both internally and to our partners. So I think what's really important is that you don't underestimate the complexity of a project like this. But the great news is that my belief is if you start small and really hone in on executing against the things that are going to make a difference and show value of this strategy, that's where you really start to see some of the wins. So the next lesson that we learned is start small. Don't try to boil the ocean and do everything at once. Pick a couple of key initiatives that you think are going to yield the highest return and start to execute against those to really prove out the value of this strategy. The third lesson that we learned is all about setting yourself up with the right tools to measure and manage against the agreed upon KPIs. Again, when this is a new initiative for the organization, establishing what this is going to do for the business and the improvements that you can start to expect to see is absolutely critical and fundamental. I think agreeing on those with a variety of stakeholders early on is really important, and making sure that you know what reporting is going to be available to be able to track this and get updates on performance is absolutely critical and something that we learned early on. Then the fourth piece is really all about adopting a test and learn mentality. When you're trying something new like this, there's certain things that are going to work great and there's other things that aren't going to work as well. And you've really got to be prepared to throw everything out there, learn from what you're doing, and know that not everything is going to be a home run, but that even the ones that fail and don't succeed, you're really going to be able to learn from, and you're going to be able to take that forward as you continue to iterate and execute on your strategy. So those are some of the 4 key things that we really learned from this experience. I think, the last piece that we've really learned is that this for us is a journey, and we're actually just getting started. So we believe we've only scratched the surface on what this can unlock for the business and the value that the segmentation and targeting strategy can really create for goeasy. So with that, we've got a whole bunch of things that we've set our sights on for 2021 and a bunch of different things that we believe will continue to actually execute against this strategy and drive even more success than we've seen. So some of the things that we're going to be looking at for next year include enhanced creative testing and execution. So now with the knowledge of our baseline testing that we've done, we can start to, tweak messages and get even more specific in terms of the creative and message strategies that we have. We're also going to be focused on product specific targeting and planning. So how can we make sure to drive penetration in some of our core products? So we're going to look at targeting customers in a better way, making sure that we're planning those messages more efficiently and effectively. We're also going to continue to optimize the way in which we measure and look at our KPIs. We know that there's many more things that we want to look at that are going to be indicators of success. So continuing to make sure that we can measure and optimize those is key. Also reporting, we want to make sure that we can automate those reports and so that we can have all this information available to us so that we can start making real-time changes. So as we see performance improve on things like our online campaigns, we can start to double down on those improvements and the benefits that we've seen through things like automated reporting. The next thing that we're going to be working on is Quebec. So everything that I just went through right now included English Canada. We hadn't focused on Quebec, but we believe that there is a ton of opportunity for us in the Quebec market. We know those models are going to look very, very differently in Quebec, but we want to make sure that we can invest in that market because it's a very important market for us as well. We're also going to continue to expand the use cases in English Canada. Again, we think that there's so much more opportunity for us to get targeted in how we approach things. And then the last piece for us is really continuing to integrate this in how we think about real estate planning. We want to continue to add many more branches to our footprint. And as we do that, making sure that we put our branches in very, very densely populated areas with our segments is going to be absolutely key to that strategy. So those are just a few of the things that we still want to make sure we can focus on going into next year. This has been an extremely exciting project for us. We're very excited about the value that we've already seen, but we know looking ahead, there's much more that we're going to be able to do with our targeting and segmentation strategy. So that's the end of the presentation and my formal remarks. And with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions that anybody might have.